I'm Amy Lewis. I'm a watercolor and oil painter living in Tacoma, Washington. That's what I do. I paint realism, like very colorful paintings of like people and food. So I learned how to paint when I was a little kid. I had like the Crayola watercolor set, and I just taught myself through practice how to paint because I wanted, like, I enjoyed drawing, but I really wanted something with color, and that was the fastest way to get it. Without oil paints were kind of difficult, and I didn't really have acrylics, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so I've been painting my whole life. No, I didn't go to art school. I was just self-taught, and I mean, when people are interested in the arts, they take art classes like at school or whatever. That's not the same thing. But I did go to Gage Academy of Seattle, or in Seattle, and I really recommend it for anybody who's learning art. It was such a good experience, and that's where I learned how to oil paint. I was there for 5 weeks. It was like one of their youth programs. Oil does take longer overall because there's always drawing time. But I would say, I always tell people like 100 to 200 hours if it's like one of my realism, like really hyper-realism, because you have like a really foundational drawing. It's like I draw every single little thing and I don't really trace. It just seems like I don't know, I just have never traced. So that takes a really long time, and there's like just so many layers. Like an oil painting will have like 3 to 4 layers of paint, maybe more, and so will watercolor basically. So yeah, the whole process might take me like 1 to 2 months, or like 100 to 200 hours, depending on how you want to think about time. Because I only ever like paint in chunks of time with it. It's like 4 hours or whatever. So then you spread out through months. And you're like, takes too long.
100 hours a month.
My subject matter, originally when I started painting like fine art, I wanted to paint, the people around me and just like ordinary things and scenes in life, and that kind of progressed into just like practicing gratitude for like the ordinary things, and that sort of turned into, I wanted to make like a contrast between the things that I really loved and making it seem like, wow, this is really special. Is really luxurious, and so I have French fries with like really rich setting, and that theme is like really helpful to make a series because you can do it in millions of different ways, and I find food and people and also like luxury items both have like so rich in color. So anyway, it's just like I feel like I've been painting this subject for a really long time, but I've like barely made a dent in like things that I could do. I do always have a reference photo because if I'm going to do something hyper-realistic, and I always want it to be my own photo. So that part of the project is like, it takes me the most time, and it's most difficult for me. Because I'll have an idea in my head, and then I get the model and my photographer, who's my dad. I get them in the same room, and then I'm like, this isn't actually working. It isn't actually like what I thought it would be like. So you have to be creative. Like you have, almost 2 other people who have their own ideas as well, and it becomes kind of this like evolving thing, which I guess is cool, but it's also kind of hard. So it just takes time. But yes, I enjoy that. I also enjoy seeing the photo next to the painting because they're always like so different, even though like it's the same, like it's hyper realistic, so it's like pretty much the same, but like the spirit of like a painting just is different than a photo. I don't know. So I always want it to be like as close as possible, but and my dad gets hung up on this because he's a photographer, and he's like, oh, this photo has got to be like perfect. I'm like, well, Dad, I can actually like change the color of that. I can move that. It's like not actually that, I'm going to like pin something and I'll just remove the pin because I have drawing skills. So yeah, I want it to be as close as possible, but there's things that I'll move or I'll change if like, they're doing something weird. Or color is a big one though, because it's easy to just change the color. I'm kind of still doing the same series, but I hope to just like let it, evolve and like change a little bit, and I feel like it did when I did Ivory Tower, which is a portrait of a woman wearing a mask, which is a little bit different than the food with luxury. But I just am anxious to like create work and like get it. If I sell something, then I just have like less pieces to show, and I really like showing, like doing a pop-up by myself. So yeah, I have I have like a whole book of ideas in mind that I want to do, and I want to do one where there's this woman like sitting in a bed who's eating waffles, and just like everything's like very luxurious, but she's like got a plate of waffles. I just think that would be fun. But I don't know, there's like a lot of stuff, but it's like so slow, 1 to 2 months. It's gonna take way too long. I'm just trying to figure out like different ways to do it, and like I want to start doing kind of paintings that are faster, like almost my style, that when I draw from my head, it's a different style, and I just feel like people also enjoy that, and I want to do more of those, just from like a financial point of view of like being able to sell things that take me less time would be great. Artistic anxiety. I think that I do deal with like anxiety a lot as an artist and as a person, but I think a big one is thinking of my words. I think just like wrapping my mind around that my work is valuable, and being grateful for the success that I've had. And I don't always have like a ton of money from it, but I've always been like taken care of, and I have people in my life who have always taken care of me. And in our society, very broad brush, I feel like we have to be like so individualistic. I feel like we have to be, do like so self-sufficient, and I'm not that way. I'm not self-sufficient because I have put my work, I've made it a priority. When like if I was like super self-sufficient, it would be a lower priority, and I would just like get a full-time job. But so I think that gives me a lot of anxiety of like just thinking about money and art, and what I'm making like a priority is like causes anxiety. But I feel as far as the actual work, I don't know that there's a lot of anxiety as far as my actual work. I've always felt like really confident in like my skill, and like if I wasn't, then I would just like practice it and like get better. And I'm just like a big planner, so there's not a lot of times where I like really fail big, which is maybe like a weakness because I'm not maybe putting myself out there that much. But it's just as like I'm a planner, so it's kind of how I roll. But anyway. Well, if you want to see the work in person, they might be in my home, and you can make an appointment. Or they might be at Tacoma Consignment, which is downtown Tacoma. There's 3 pieces there right now. But the best place to buy my work is on my website, which is amylewisfineart.com. And I'm also on Instagram. My tag is SuperAmes, or my name.